Say thanks for joining us on the podcast, A Walk Through the Mud. I am joined today by the amazing and wonderful and inspiring Michelle Lang-Raymond.
Thank you.
Michelle, can you just talk a little bit about what you have going on, your businesses, the things that are cool for you, and, kind of just share with our audience?
Well, first of all, the sentiments are mutual. I'm mutually inspired and thankful to be here with you.
Yeah.
We are sitting in Acts on Stage Theater, which is a theater I co-founded in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, because nothing else was happening. So no, that's not the reason. But we started this theater, Acts on Stage, because we wanted a place where the stories, the narratives, the voices, the talents of people of color and creators of faith could live.
Yeah.
I am both of those. I check the box on both of those demographics, and having a place that served those two demographics for me was really important. And so Acts on Stage was born in 2020, and so the last 5 years we have been producing shows, musicals, events, lecture series, classes, programs, with that mission in mind. And so that's my 9 to 5 these days. And then my little side hustle is a little coffee shop called The Scene in South Park that we opened, or we bought in the summer of 2023. And it's right down the street from here. I actually bought it because somebody came to me and said, "Hey, there's a coffee shop down the street from your theater. You should buy it." And took that jump, took that risk. So those are my two things.
There's a coffee shop down the street and you should buy it.
That's always a reason, right?
So I bought it.
Yeah, that's a reason. And it's been an adventure. Like I will say, entrepreneurship is not for the weak. And I've never thought it was easy. I never thought it was simple or easy. But now doing it as a nonprofit and doing it as a retail brick and mortar, it's really hard. And sometimes, you just got to make the jump, whether something's hard or not, you just got to make the jump. But the learning curve depends on, that jump also has a learning curve. And so we've been in the up and down of that learning curve for the last couple of years. Yeah.
So let's plug into Acts on Stage. It's a show got coming out.
Yes.
Want to talk about the show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know a little bit about this show.
A little bit about the show.
We got a show. So like I said, we have a whole season of shows. We're the only Black-owned, Black-operated theater building with its own facility in Seattle. And so we have the beauty of producing a season of shows. Like a lot of times, local community theater doesn't get to sort of look ahead and know, what shows are happening this year. It's sort of like, wait a couple months and somebody will tell you, if they're going to do a show. But we actually get to schedule out a season of shows. And so we just wrapped our season 5. And so opening season 6 is this great show called Detroit 67.
Detroit 67.
Written by Dominique Morisseau, directed by Isaiah Anderson Jr. And it's this really great look at sort of the beautiful time of music, like Motown 1960s or in Detroit, this beautiful sort of birth of a sound. At the same time, there is this destructive sound also happening in society that erupted in the Detroit riots of 1967. And so while we're having this beautiful birth of music, that on the backdrop is this other troubling truth. And what's kind of crazy about it is, in 2025, Detroit 67 doesn't seem too different. They kind of mirror each other. And so that's the next show that we got coming up. It is November 14th through the 23rd, I think are the dates. You are in it.
I am.
I'm excited to see you in this again.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for how you have been walking out your artistic, creative journey.
We use evolve.
Evolve.
Sounds good. Yeah.
You are evolving from a guy who was like, I don't do this, to a guy that's like, when's auditions? So I love that for us and for you. And I hope people come see the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a great show. I'm super excited about it. My character is Sly, just in case you guys are wondering. I got to be out here in these streets as usual.
Literally. Yeah.
So anyway, so dope. All right. And so then married, kids?
Yeah, I'm married. I've been
Let's
married
learn a
5 years.
little bit about
I
you.
got married 2 weeks before I opened the theater, actually,
Okay.
or 2 weeks before the pandemic, and then simultaneously as a theater. My husband had two kids already, two young men, Victor and Joseph Jr., and so I get to play bonus mom to them, and it's a great ride.
Bonus
Yeah, it's a
mom.
great ride.
What does that mean for you, bonus mom?
It's a learning curve as well.
Yeah.
It's another thing where you get married later in life and then you inherit kids who are not actually children anymore. They by the time I met Victor and Joseph, they were older, and so they had already have their identities, their personalities, I should say, were already fully formed. And so I have a youth pastor background, and so I kind of did come in like, oh, I can win over any kid. But these were not kids. These were like, almost grown men. And so we have developed relationships that are really good and loving and respectful. And I just love being a part of the tribe that helps them navigate life.
Yeah.
And it's been a really beautiful thing to do.
I have two kids, two wonderful, amazing kids, and they had a bonus mom for a while also. I kind of always wondered what that dynamic feels like, because there's definitely an authoritative role there, but it's not the actual parent,
Right.
So
Right.
help me with
It's
that. Like,
you know what if I'm 100, it's the learning curve of that, the roller coaster of that has not always been cute and it has not always been pretty. Sometimes that is really hard. I remember the first time we were all living, me, Victor, and Jay, my husband, we were all living in the same place for the first time, and they got kind of into an argument as just father and son. And in the middle of the argument, this is terrible, I'm about to share this, but in the middle of the argument, Victor says, "You're just showing off in front of your little girlfriend." And at this point, we were actually married, right? Right? And so I was like, what the? What? I was like, how did I get thrown? How did I become a casualty in this moment? How did that happen? And my feelings were so hurt. Like, they were so hurt. And we laugh about it now. But it's not as cute and Brady Bunch as everybody would like you to think. Like, oh, if you just do this, it'll all work out. That you know what? You got to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and you hope it works out. And so it's a journey.
Yeah.
As with everything, it's a journey.
My dad is married now, and I met his wife, who now I call my mom. I call her mom, and she essentially is a bonus mom as well, because I have a biological mother.
Yeah.
But he has been with her. I met him in 2020, and he has been with her
Wow.
the whole time that I've known her, and she's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And I love her, and I am connected to her, and my relationship with her is mother-son.
That's awesome.
And so I have that experience from both ends, like I experienced my kids with a bonus mom. I've experienced myself with a bonus mom. And then I myself have a biological mother, and my relationship with my biological mother has not always been great, to say the least. And we've been through some things, you work through some things and you kind of come out on the other side of that. So did your relationship with your mom help you in any way being a bonus mom, or did that?
So my mom I don't think she would have called herself a bonus mom, although she was. My mom got married when I was a teenager, and that gentleman had 3 children. And so we were like instantly, a blended family. And I think it was really hard for her. And I think watching, and when I think about my scenario now, there are times when I reflect on how hard it looked for my mom when she became the extra mom. And I think that actually does bring me some consolation, right? That these relationships are work. Like these relationships take work and they take commitment, because not everything is going to look like a sitcom and everything's going to look like some TV moment. And so I think I do reflect on some of the journey I saw her take as I think about my own.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, and I think I do take comfort in having seen it be difficult, I think I do take comfort in that because, nowadays you just think everything's supposed to be easy and everything's supposed to just snap and happen. And that's just not real life. It's just not real life. And so yeah, I think I do take some reflective comfort in watching her do it.
Yeah. So the podcast is a walk through the mud. We are taking real life stories, real life things that are hard and difficult, and kind of connecting them to our faith and forgiveness.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about your mom and that relationship and what that was like, and kind of how you.
Yeah, we've talked a lot before about my mom, and my mom's passed away now. She was unfortunately killed in a hit and run, and so I tragically lost her in 2008. I woke up in the middle of the night from a phone call from the coroner, asking me to identify, this person. And I'll just walk it back a little bit, and then I guess maybe we can unpack some more. But what's crazy is at that time I had a really busy career. One in my 9 to 5 job, which was working at a church, but also as an artist, as a singer. I was constantly on the road singing or just doing these gigs. And so this was in January of 2008 that she passed. Normally on the New Year's Eve before the New Year, I would be someplace, singing. And that particular year, I either just didn't get booked or I didn't want to. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was the first year in probably 20 years that I was not somewhere singing on New Year's Eve. And she called me and she just said, I just want to come hang out with you for New Year's Eve. And so we did. And then a few days later, she was gone. And so I really, take that as a gift, in the ending of that part of our relationship, that I needed, that obviously I wouldn't have known I was going to need. And so I'm thankful for that, because prior to that, my mom and I had a lot of years of rift, honestly. My mom, as genius as she was, as talented as she was, as beautiful as she was, she also really suffered with substance abuse and also with some mental health issues before people were so easily naming mental health issues. She was suffering with those. She had me and my brother when she was 14, 15 years old. She had my brother when she was 14, me when she was 15. And so never had I really thought about my mom as only 15 years older than me in our growing up. And so when her issues with substance abuse and her mental health issues would sort of show themselves, it was at a very close proximity, I think, to me. And so for a lot of my life, I felt like I lived with resentment and embarrassment from the stuff that she was dealing with, because it had direct impact on me. And so when you fast forward to how I lost her, and just knowing that one of the last things that happened was us having quality time together, as devastating as losing her was, it was a beautiful way, to sort of have that summation, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I really connected with your story, because you and I've talked, and I told you just a bit about some of the things that I've gone through, and just it took me a long time to get back to this place where I can trust women, and wanting to be in relationship. It's funny. It's not really funny, but it's kind of funny how when Michelle and I first met, she is so loving and caring and like, hey, let's hug, let's be cool. And I'm like,
not here for it.
I'm
I was
like,
like,
no.
okay, then fine. Sit over there.
I didn't want to hug. I'm like, no, don't touch me, And then gradually till today, I see you today and I get up and I'm like, Michelle.
Right, the first thing you want to do is get a hug. I'm like, okay, come here.
I mean, but it's been,
Yeah.
what has it been, like 3 years,
Yeah.
that we've known each other.
Yeah.
And so just with me and my journey and my relationship with my own mom and some of the things that were difficult for me, one of the things that I really remember that resonates most with me is never feeling protected by my mom. I never felt like she had my back or she protected me very much, you know? Like, is that something that resonates with you also? Or how was your relationship? I mean, I know you talked about it being,
Yeah, that's really good. So man, that's really layered. Our relationship was it was good. I always felt like my mom had high expectations of me, but lacked some capacity for relationship, right? So, whereas if there was a project that we were working on, and this kind of shows up in my work here sometimes, if there was a project we were working on, she was all in. Like kids have to make the little science class panoramic whatever
yeah.
projects, or you make a lava thing, or you got to draw something, or you got to turn in something for school. If there was a project for us to do, she was 100% present and all in. But if it was just show up for something, that was harder for her to do. And I felt that, I felt that absence, I guess you could say. And I'm not sure what, at the time, I'll say this, I did not understand what that was. As I've gotten older, I realized, again, my mom was like 14 years older than me. She was a child. Do you know what I mean? And so her understanding of how to relate to something or someone without a mediating project, that was probably the way she saw the world, was what's the project, like what is it that we have to relate on. And so sometimes that was strained. I remember, like, when I was when she and I, my brother had moved away, and she and I were the only two in the house, and I did wonder about how much her existence was for me. Right. I just felt sometimes I felt like her existence was for her, and I was just sort of left to my own devices. And and while she was in the throes of battling her illnesses and stuff, I would wonder, like, am I just sort of fending for myself? Like, when she would have these dark periods, am I just out here fending for myself, or do I still get to be protected, by her? And I didn't always feel like I was a priority. I just felt like I was sort of a I don't know, just sort of along for the ride. I didn't always feel like I was sort of the priority. If I look back at the facts of her life, certainly I was a priority. She was probably working because she had kids. She was probably, she would go grocery shopping because she had kids. She would cook because she has kids. So of course I am a priority, but when you don't feel that way, that's just how you feel.
And it's crazy to me sometimes when you think about, like, you don't feel that way, because that was a lot of what I felt also. I didn't feel like I was a priority. I felt like I was different or separated or kind of removed from the family, And when I look back, same thing, when I look back on my childhood, my relationship with my mom, I realized, like, I was a priority. There are things that she did, sacrifices that she made that, otherwise, why would you make them?
Why would you do it? Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to make them. And even now, she just went through chemo, and she had cancer, and she went through chemotherapy, and, watching my mom in that situation, I wasn't there for the whole part of it, because our relationship was still estranged. And, but reconnecting and building that relationship again has been so valuable to me, just reconnecting with where I'm from, and who I am. And that's kind of been my, like, journey through that process. Like, tell me a bit about yours. Like, what was your...
Man, when you say that, like, I really, as much as I'm thankful for that, New Year's Eve kind of time I got to spend, I do sort of, not sort of, I very much miss that she's not here now, right? Because I have, like, the biggest project of all time on my hands. And, like, if there was ever a time that I would love her to be here and we take a new journey together, it would be now. And I think all the years previously, I think I felt like an interruption to her journey, right? Not necessarily that she didn't like me or she didn't want me, but just sort of that I was, just sort of, I don't know, just sort of I don't know. I just felt like I was not necessarily the priority, like you said. But again, I didn't know then what I know now. And I think what I know now says otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And I think, like I said, walking through that, and just I think understanding that there's a connection between what my mom did and how she showed up for me as a child, and also the way that she was shown up for as a child, and what she did as a child. My mom wasn't 15 when she had me, but she was 21, and her mom is only 14 years older than her, and she was born in, the 1940s Georgia in the South, and so their lives were so much different than mine is now. And just like you talked about, being in a place now where you can so freely have conversations about some of the things you struggle with. And, back then, my mom's a baby boomer. So back then, you guys didn't talk about that,
I feel like I have so much grace for my mom now
Yeah.
that I didn't
Me
have
too.
when I was younger. And when I say younger, I don't mean like a kid younger. I mean even
Like
in my
last
30s.
year.
Yeah. I just feel like I just have so much more grace for what she had to work with, right? What she was dealing with and what she had to work with. Like I said, she had us when she was a teenager. She was dealing with some. I don't know if she was immediately having mental health issues, or if it was just sort of the weight of the world issues that evolved right into sort of a mental health condition. She was dealing with that. She was dealing with being the breadwinner, being the sole provider for her family. And when you're younger, you just think, yeah, you should know how to do that. You had me, you brought me into this world, you should know how to do this stuff. And now I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why would she have known how to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, from where would she have learned how to do that?
Yeah.
I come to this place every day and I'm learning how to do it. And I'm sure to the people outside of here, it looks like I know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out every single day. And I think now I have so much more grace for the journey that she was taking than I did, when I was younger.
Yeah.
My mom was also in the military, and she was also always working like either in corporate fields or some other kind of elevated fields. Because again, she was just like super smart. And I used to have such a disdain for how she would code switch, right? Because I would hear her be mom 1 minute, and then the phone would ring. And then all of a sudden there's this other voice on the phone. I'm like, who the hell is that? Like, who are you? Why do you talk like that? Where's this voice come from? Where's this very proper, high level voice come from? Because a second ago, you know what I'm saying? That was a whole different person. But now I'm like, I totally understand. I completely understand where that voice came from.
I'm laughing because my brothers and I joke about this all the time with my mom. My mom will be in there like, go sit your head down. And then somebody will call. She's like, hello.
Hi. Hi, who's this? Hi, girl. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so funny.
Yeah. And I used to be so angry about that. I used to think that was so fake and so fraud and so.
Yeah.
But now, and it's not just an understanding. It's really like you really sit back now and you think, that was survival. There were so many things that my mom did that were survival for her. It didn't look like survival to me, but it was survival for her. And sometimes you just kind of get caught up in somebody else's journey of survival, right? And you're like, what you're doing hurts me, but me not knowing she is just trying to survive, right? She's literally swinging between a substance abuse itch or a manic depressive itch. She's really trying to figure out which one wins right now. Or if in an effort for neither of them to win, I just go in my room and shut the door, which means she shuts me out too. For me, that looks like a disregard of me. Now I can see and say, that was survival for her. Like, that was a survival moment for her. And I have a lot more grace for that now than I did when I was a kid. It's hard. Like, I think sometimes, Michael, we like overinflate ourselves, our own humanity, and we deflate others' humanity. What I mean by that is we overinflate that, of course, at the right time, at the right moment, I'll be a good person. Of course I would do the right thing. Of course I would make the trade. Of course I would do the proper and the blah, blah, blah. Of course I would. They wouldn't because they da-da-da, right? But I think when you overinflate yourself in that way, you lose sight of everybody has to take their own walk. Everybody has to take their own journey, and they will get there when it's time for them to get there, the same way you got there when it was time for you to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard this great saying once that we judge ourselves based off of our motives, and we judge other people based off of their actions, and that was something that was huge for me, is because I used to always think, I have kids, I would have never.
I'd never do that.
I would have never. Yeah. And how could you have done this? Like, I know what it's like now. So how could I have looked at this situation? But different people have different mind frames. They've been through different things in their life. And that's why it's called a journey, right? Like, that's why it's a journey that you start on, and you walk through some of those things that are hard and that aren't easy, and you forgive and, trying to learn to let things go and give them to God.
And I think, like, when we overinflate ourselves in those ways that we're talking about, that overinflation doesn't leave room for you to remember, right, the fragility of your human journey. Like, you don't remember how fragile you were. Even when you were doing these courageous moves, you were still very fragile. You were still very vulnerable. But when you sort of puff yourself up, you forget how fragile this thing is. But when you just sort of say, let me bring it down a little bit and try to remember, what did that feel like? Then you have a little bit more grace for other people's journey.
When my son was being born, I was 21. And I went through a 3-month-long period of anxiety. It wasn't like come and go. It was just consistent.
Wow.
For 3 straight months. Yeah. And when you talk about the fragility of your own situation, 3 straight months of anxiety. And I was going to be a father. I had a job. I had an apartment. I had a wife. All of these things I had that lead to stability, right? They mimic stability. When my mom was giving birth to me, there was no father around. She did not have her own place. She was going back to live with my grandma. She had no job. She didn't have any stability. So when I think about that in my mind, and I think about the connection, and if I went through that with the stability that I had, what was she dealing with in her own right? So if you can just leave our audience with just one thing, choose one, like one thing about your story and about your journey through forgiveness, through faith and forgiveness, about your walk through the mud, what would that be?
I think it would be, be easier on yourself, and remember that, again, I think going back to this notion that as strong as we can be, as courageous as we can be, as formidable as we can be, we are equally vulnerable and fragile and small. All of us are. And I think if you can remember that as you engage people along the way, no matter who those people are, no matter what you think those people are supposed to do, they are walking a journey where every other step they feel strong and weak, brave and scared, right? Secure, and low. They're walking that same journey too. And I think that gives you a little bit more grace for them that maybe you would have wished somebody would have had for you.
Absolutely. Michelle, I love you.
Love you back.
Thank you so much. This was an amazing episode.
Thank you.
Check out the show coming up, Acts on Stage, Detroit 67, November 14th through the 23rd.
It is.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you guys for coming and watching this episode. We appreciate you guys so much. A walk through the mud. Make sure you check us out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.